Most of the time while working with AWS, we would have created EC2 instances or S3 buckets manually and deleted them manually or stopped them manually. What if we automate this by having infrastructure as a code? Let's try how we can use CloudFormation inside AWS in order to create our resources on the fly. Let's get started.
Press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss any update from Tech Primers.
Before getting into the details of how to create a stack inside CloudFormation, let's look at the architecture diagram on what we are trying to achieve. Obviously, we are present inside the AWS infrastructure. We will be creating a EC2 instance and we will be creating an Amazon S3 bucket. Also, in order to log into this EC2 instance, we need to wrap this EC2 instance with a security group so that we can log into this particular EC2 instance using a private key. So I already have a key pair created in my Amazon login, and I'll be using that particular key pair in order to log into this EC2 instance. So we need to set that as well as a part of our provisioning. And all these are done using CloudFormation. So CloudFormation is a service provided by Amazon in order to automate our infrastructure provisioning inside the AWS platform. So if you want to create, destroy, update instances automatically, then you can use Amazon's CloudFormation and its template. Let's move on to the Amazon AWS console and search for CloudFormation. So here it says create and manage resources with templates. So we are going to create a template. In fact, you can give a JSON file or a YAML file, or we can even design a template. So here what we are going to do is we are going to design a template. So I'm just clicking on the design template option, or you can go to the create stack and then create it from there. So first let's design the template and then create. You have the create option here from the template directly. So you don't have to worry about creation of a stack and then designing a template. So let's design a template first. So here there is something called resource types where you have different Amazon resources. So here I'm going to select the EC2 for our reference. I'm going to click and drag the Amazon EC2 instance, and here you have a name provided. I'm going to name it as EC2 instance. So once I rename it, I need to refresh this UI and then I can add my settings here. So then we need a S3 bucket, right? I'll just add S3 bucket as well. We need an S3 bucket and we can rename this as S3 bucket. Again, we need to refresh this. So we got a S3 bucket, we have a EC2 instance. And notice that there are different sections here: properties, metadata, deletion policy, then depends on, then condition, right? So here if you go to the tab called template, this shows the complete template of the AWS CloudFormation. So in this particular CloudFormation we have different resources and stuff. Let's see how we can create this template from scratch. Here we have created using the design option, but let's try creating this template from scratch and then we can put that template there in order to create our image. So let's create a JSON file. I'm going to create the template using JSON notation. So let's create a JSON file. So I'll just call this as JSON. You can get the template from the GitHub links. I'm going to push this into GitHub so that you can directly get all the CloudFormation templates which I show in the video. So the skeleton of the CloudFormation template looks something like this. So you have something called as AWS template format version, where you have a version mentioned here, the version which was dated to 2010, and there are different sections called parameters, mappings, resources, and outputs. So parameters is a section where you can ask user to give different inputs based on which your resourcing can change. So the CloudFormation template is nothing but a template for you to provision your resources. So in order to change the type of resources or a type of provisioning, then you have this option of parameters where you can set different parameters by the user when they trigger or create a stack. So in our example, we are going to add some parameters here. So I already have the templates loaded as a part of my live template in IntelliJ. See, this is the live template in IntelliJ. I already loaded some of my parameters and my reusable templates so that I can easily get that for you. So if I click this, so this is my template. So by default, I have something called as key name, then instant type and SSH location. So these are three different parameters which I'm going to ask user to enter. The key name would be the key pair, because at runtime I will be able to select the key pair which I want to assign to my EC2 instance. So we need to already create a key pair inside EC2 instance, and then you can download the private key so that you can log into the EC2 instance when you assign this particular security into the security group. Instance type is where you will have to select what type of instance it is, whether it is t1.micro, t2.nano, etc. The size of the instance which matters. So you can create different instance types based on your need. And finally, SSH location. So which IP address should be allowed to log into this particular EC2 instance, because dynamically you don't want to allow everybody to log into this EC2 instance. So we want to select a specific IP address. By default it allows everything, but yeah, so these are the values which are provided for each of these. For instance type, if you notice, there are different allowed values. In fact, you can remove these values and you can allow only a subset. Since this is a template, you can control the whole template. So let's say I am going to remove all my allowed values and I am going to allow user to create only two types of values, either t2.nano or t1.micro, and I have by default given the name as nano, and this should be visible in the parameters list when we create the stack in the console. So the next section is the mapping section. So using the mapping section, we can map different values based on whatever we selected in the parameters. For example, when we select t2.macro, and based on the particular availability zone or the region which we are in, different image can be applied to a EC2 instance. So in order to create a EC2 instance, we need images, and based on the architecture types and the image, we need to provide a image ID. So image ID is nothing but the image name inside the Amazon infrastructure or the marketplace. So we are going to add mappings for that in the mapping section. So let's minimize this parameter section and let's go to the mappings. So these are the different mappings which I have loaded again. So this is all retrieved from the Amazon website. So I have got all the mappings for the different regions and their architectures. So for example, here there is a section called AWS instance type to architecture. So what is the type of architecture which particular for this particular EC2 instance? So we have provided only t1.micro and t2.nano. So I'm going to remove all these totally. So we are going to provide only two instance type mappings because we did not provide them in the parameters. So let me remove them from here. The next one is the regional mapping. So once we have selected the different architecture types, we need to identify what is the image based on the region. So for example, if I'm deploying my application is US East 1 for the HVM64, this is my image. So I'll be using this particular image when I'm using T1 micro. Same way with other configurations as well. So that is this particular mapping. I'll leave the regional mappings as is because I have so many different regions. So you can have different images per region. So the next section is the resources section. This is where the EC2 and the S3 information should be added. So for that as well, I already have the template. So I'll just use that template resource and I have EC2. So once I select EC2, you can see there is a section called EC2 Instance. So this is the name of the instance which I am providing. You can name it to anything else you want. And there are some properties inside. So these properties are where it says instance type. There is a reference to the instance type which is mentioned in the parameter section here. So in the parameter section we had an instance type. This is exactly the same name what we will be referencing here. So whatever user selects in the parameter section from the stack will be applied to this particular EC2 instance when we are creating it. So that is what this section is. The next section is the security groups. So this is the security group which we need to assign in order to give access to our EC2 instance. So we will look at this particular reference below in a while. Meanwhile, there is something called key name. So key name is nothing but the key value pair which will be assigned to this EC2 instance. So this is again the name which we have assigned here, the key pair which user is going to select at the runtime. And finally, the image ID. So this is where the mappings are going to help, because we need to map whatever the user selects based on that and the region as well. So that is what this particular says. So we have different maps and we have loaded different regions and instance types. Based on the instance type the user selects, the corresponding image ID will be loaded into this particular section. So this is the syntax for it, right? It's just the JSON, the way we define JSON, so that Amazon can identify which map it can get from. So the next section is the security group, which we have defined here. So security group is where we will be mentioning what are the rules for my ingress and the egress. So ingress is my inbound traffic to this particular EC2 instance. So here we are assigning a SSH location, and this SSH location is enabled only for the ports 22, and the reference for that is mentioned here in the parameter. So whatever IP address we will be allowing in, that will be coming in from this particular section onto this particular security group. So that is how you create a EC2 instance, by assigning a security group, and these are the syntaxes for it. So the next section we want to create is the S3 bucket, because we wanted to test the S3 bucket, right? So I'll just do that. I just selected the S3 bucket option as well. So this is going to create a S3 bucket, and I'm adding a dependency to the S3 bucket. This is to make sure that I don't create things in parallel. I just want to show you how you can create dependencies between these resources. All these are resources, right? EC2 is a resource, S3 bucket is a resource. So we want to wait until the EC2 is done, and that's when I create a bucket. I'm not going to add anything to the bucket right now, but we just want to show the dependency to the resources. If you don't add the dependency, then automatically the EC2 instance and the S3 bucket will be created in parallel. So this is how we do it for dependencies. And finally, we are done with the resources. That's what we designed, right? So we wanted to have S3 and the Amazon EC2 instance along with the security group. So we have done that. However, I need to see what are my values when these are created, right? So there is a section called outputs, where you can pull in something from these resources which are created or provisioned, and you can show it up separately. So I'm going to have some default for that as well. So I'll just say I wanted 4 different values. The first one is the instance ID. Instance ID is the name of the EC2 instance which gets created, and the availability zone is what something we want to look at. So I want to retrieve the availability zone inside that particular region to be retrieved, and the public DNS, which is what we'll be using for connecting to this particular EC2 instance, and finally the IP address of that particular DNS. So these are 4 outputs which I want to see it after the CloudFormation template has run or provisioned. So we are done with our template. So this is the complete template. Notice that I have a plugin in IntelliJ which just validates all this, right? So let's say if I don't have any of these, like how we saw initially, right? If I have this skeleton, it shows that I need to have something declared in the parameters section. So this is how the cloud formation plugin is helping us in identifying if there are any issues in the JSON file. So I'm going to copy this file and then add it into my design template here. So this is the design page which we saw some time ago, where we just drag drop some stuff. Here I'm going to replace my existing content with this new content which we created. And the moment I refresh, this will get reflected onto my UI. So see that there is a section here which got created. So see, notice that there is a S3 bucket, and there is this arrow mark which says depends on. So we defined the depends on, right? So we added a depends on clause from the S3 bucket so that it can depend on EC2. And the security group is assigned for an EC2 instance, and that is what this arrow mark mean. So we have a security group and we have an EC2 instance which is linked with a security group. So this is how a design template is created using a CloudFormation template. So we created the template and then the design got created. You can download this image by clicking on this download option, and this is going to download a PNG file for us, and this will show the exact image whatever we have created here. So in fact I can download this and then add it into the template so that we can use it in the GitHub link. So downloaded the template. Now in order to create the stack, I can click on this create stack option. So the template will be loaded from here directly onto the stack. However, if you want to upload a JSON template manually, you can do that as well. So I'll just show you how to do that. So here, see that our file got uploaded automatically to S3 and then we are getting it created from there. However, you can choose the file by uploading it from your local. So we already have it in local, but we created it using design. Still, I would go ahead and use this design. So here we are providing a stack name. In order to provide a stack name, you can make it meaningful. I'm going to provide a meaningful name called as S3 EC2 security group, because I know this is going to create my S3 bucket, EC2 instance, and a security group. And see that these are the parameters which we provided in the template. So there were three parameters: key name, instance type, and SSH location, and those are the ones which got listed here. See, right, there are only two options here. If I change the template with different parameters, then I will have different parameters. So this is controlled by us. So the whole template of creation of a stack is all controlled by us. So let's select a existing key pair. So I already have a key pair created under my EC2 instance. So you can create a key pair from the EC2 instance here and go ahead and create one from the key pair option. So here, so you already have a key pair here. So I'm going to use it. Now coming back to the UI, here I'm allowing everybody to log in. So right now I want to test it. I don't want to get my IP address and then post it here in this video. So I'll just say allow everybody to log into this EC2 instance, and I'll shut it down later, right? So I'll just set this for now, but you can have restricted IP address here. I'll click on the next option. Here there are some tags which you can add. So I'll just name a tag, for example, YouTube tech primers. I'll just add some tag so that you guys can see this in the EC2 instance. The next one is some IAM roles. If you want to provide some roles, you can assign that. I don't have anything. I don't have any trigger. I don't want to have any CloudWatch alarm. You can do that as well. I don't want to do any of these. I'll just click on the next option. And here I should be able to create my stack. I'm just hitting the create option and I should be able to refresh this. So notice that the status of this particular stack which we created is create in progress. So stack is nothing but your collection of provisioning which you have created from a single template. So let me refresh it again and see what is the status. If I go inside the stack, I can see different events. I should be able to see different events. See this, there is a event called creation in progress for stack. Then there is a creation complete for security group. So our security group got created and the instance EC2 instance is getting created. So let me quickly go and check my EC2 instance. Yep, I can see one EC2 instance running. See this, I selected the nano option, t2.nano, and it's already created, right? Awesome. So this is our security group again. Let's go to this particular UI and then I'll refresh this. So my S3 bucket is getting created now. So our EC2 instance is successfully created. Our security group is created, and now S3 bucket is getting created. And see, there is an option to see our template, whatever we loaded here. There are different tags, parameters, whatever we set. So the parameters shows whatever we had set, t2.nano, and the key name and our SSH. So let's refresh this again and then see if it is done. Yep, the creation is complete. So we have successfully created our CloudFormation template stack, and let's go and check, right? Yep. So we created a bucket, we created a EC2 instance, and we created a security group. Now let me try log into this EC2 instance and then see if you are able to connect to this and then confirm that our security group is working. So if I click on the connect option, it shows me with the command which I can use to connect. So I'll just use this. I already have my terminal up and running here. So I'll just use the command to log into this particular EC2 instance, and it's allowing me to log in. Yep, successfully I'm into my EC2 instance. See this, I'm logged into the EC2 instance with EC2-user. So that is the default user on any EC2 instance. So I can see different processes which are running in this, right? So I'm able to log into the EC2 instance. So looks like my security group is successfully working, and I can close this, right? So coming back to the stack, coming back to the CloudFormation template. So there is a new UI which Amazon has created. So there is an option, try it out to provide us feedback. So I'll click on this. This has now taken us to the new UI which Amazon has created for the CloudFormation, and see that the UI is slightly changed, and this is how it shows. Initially it was showing up in a stacked manner, now it shows up in the form of tabs. So you can see different events here. It's exactly the same, but the UI is just revamped, right? So there's a creation in progress which happened, then there was a creation complete for the instance security group. Then for EC2 instance we had a create in progress and create complete event. Same with the S3 bucket. If let's say there was an issue with the S3 bucket, the whole thing will be rolled back, right? So let's go to resources. So the resources tab shows up what are the different resources which got created. So if I click on this EC2, it will directly take me to the EC2 instance which got created as a part of this particular CloudFormation template. See, this is what got created. Same with the S3 bucket and the security group. So if I go to the security group again, it's getting loaded. So this is the security group which got created as a part of the template, and this is the bucket which got created. So if I go to Amazon S3, so this is the bucket which got created, the S3 EC2 security group which we created. And there was a section called outputs where we mentioned I wanted 4 particular values, and these are the values which are retrieved. See that there is a key and there is a value. Based on the runtime data, this value is generated and provided for us. If the availability zone is completely different, then it will be showing a different value. So this is the instance ID and the IP address. So if I try to update this particular stack, these information will be changed because it will be creating a new EC2 instance. So let's try doing that. See, these are the parameters and this is the template. Now in order to update the stack, I'll go to actions and click on update stack. See, here I want to use the existing template, but I want to provide a different parameter. So here I'll go and select t1.micro. Instead of t2.nano, I'm going to create a t1.micro. So now what will happen? The existing instance will be deleted and then these stacks will be updated. So I'll use the exact same information. I'll go and do a next. There is an option now. So here there is something called change set preview. So Amazon provides a snapshot of what will happen if you update this new stack. So this new stack says modifying an EC2 instance. So this is a conditional replacement, which basically means it's going to replace our instance. So I want to do that. I'll just click on update stack. So this does like a diff. So that's the change set basically. So here I can see events. I can refresh this option here, and notice that my terminal is throwing error because it has got logged out of the EC2 instance. It says the system is going down for power off because my EC2 instance has got terminated. Looks like there was a problem. See that when I updated this particular EC2 instance, it got a rollback command because I cannot update my instance to micro from my free tier. Because I have a free tier, so this is a free tier account, I cannot upgrade my instance to micro. So that is why the update failed, and notice that the rollback also got triggered. So this is how a rollback happens. So what happens? The configuration will be updated or rolled back to the existing configuration, for example t2.nano. So this is what I wanted to show you, because in my free tier I can create only a nano instance, I cannot create a micro instance. So that's why the update failed, right? So, and the error says there is an unsupported error support, please check the documentation for support configuration, because in my free tier I don't have access to create micro instance type, and my CloudFormation template got intelligent and it's rolling back to my existing one. So let's see if the rollback is complete. Yep, the rollback is complete. Now we should be able to see things running, right? So see that it's still running but with a different IP address and a different public DNS name. Now if I want to delete everything in one go, right? I don't want to stop them one by one because I don't know how many things got created, right? So you can directly click on this particular stack and then go to actions and then do a delete stack. So if you click on this delete option, all my resources will be cleaned up. So I'm going to click on the delete so that it can clean up all my resources. So if I go to the EC2 console, I can see here, see my instance is getting shut down because I've deleted it. My instance is getting shut down. So this is how you can use AWS CloudFormation template in order to automate your creation, updation, and deletion of your infrastructure provisioning. If you want to get the template which I have used, go to the GitHub link and then get it from there. If you have any doubts with respect to AWS CloudFormation or something similar, do mention that in the comment section below. If you want me to make a video on something else, do mention that as well. As always, if you like the video, go ahead and like it. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe to it. Meet you again in the next video. Thank you very much.